welcome to this session. I personally am so excited by some of the sessions that I've seen today and over the past couple of days. So I think that we've got a great audience here and people are really super smart, super intelligent, and this amazing cadre of powerful women. I feel really honored to be able to present to them. So just a little bit of a background in what we're going to talk about today. My name is Mrids. It's a long name, but Mrids is the easiest version for me. I'm the founder of Women Ask for More. And the reason behind founding this small community, which is growing, of women is I realized through my experience, so I used to work as a producer in film, and then after that as the head of sales, and then I trained in negotiations. And I realized in all of my negotiations that the group that actually had it worse off, the ones who didn't benefit in most negotiations, were the minorities, and they were in general the women. And the reasons for that are so many, which I can't go into here, obviously. But what I do want to highlight, and I hope that you will be able to take away from here, is that negotiation doesn't need to be hard. It's not something that's extremely complicated to do. It's not something that needs to be aggressive, and it can really be done in a way to preserve relationships in the long run, which is exactly what we want, especially, I think, as women. We prioritize our relationships and we want to be able to keep them to grow. And we don't necessarily want to go in there in this like whole, kind of sleazy, aggressive negotiation. There are negotiations that do go like that. But in general, the method that I practice is from the Harvard Negotiations Project methodology, which is really focused on creating win-win solutions for women. And I'm win-win solutions for everyone, but I'm really excited to be able to specifically tune this into how women can use it. So I don't know where people can ask me questions. Daria, do you know if they can put it in here? And Daria, just assuming that you know what's going on. But I assume people can put their questions in here if something comes up, or I'll include my email in here and you can always get in touch with me, come and join one of the groups or one of the training programs to learn to do it. All right, so moving on from here. Yes, it worked. Okay, so like I said, the big importance is creating a win-win solution for everyone involved. And what is a win-win solution? So win-win solution, pretty simply, is exactly like the name of what it sounds like. It's a solution in which both parties in the negotiation benefit equally from this negotiation. It's really important to remember that what is of equal value to you in a negotiation is not of equal value to the other person. So when I say benefit equally, it means that both parties walk away from a negotiation feeling like they have benefited and feeling like it was of value to them, and that they didn't, as you casually would say, get ripped off. Nobody wants to leave feeling that way. Everybody wants to leave feeling that like it was something that was, really beneficial to them and that they came out on top. So how do you create that? Okay. You create that by asking for more and asking for what you are worth. And this is sort of like the most important thing for me if there's one thing that you take away from all of this, is to ask for more and ask for what you're worth, right? Because as women, if you think about it, there's many reasons why we hesitate to take that one extra step to be able to ask for more. We usually, I think, kind of hold ourselves back and say, it's fine, it's okay, I don't want to upset anybody, I don't want to seem greedy, because in general, you've heard that if you do ask for more, you will be seen as greedy. However, what I would like to let you know is that you can ask for more without seeming greedy by laying options on the table that are, again, beneficial to everyone else. And I also want to stress, and we're going to do this very quickly, is that women often do not benefit from the mindset of asking for more. So they kind of self-tailor and self-limit without actually someone else telling them you can't have it. They just assume that I can't have it. They assume that they can't have it because they haven't seen other women do it. They haven't seen other women ask for that. They're the, it could be situations where you're the wealthiest woman in your company, or you have the highest salary, or you've got the best bonus in your company, or you might be out earning your spouse or your family members or your friends. So you automatically assume there's a ceiling to what you can have in your life because of a mindset issue where you think this is where it stops. And what I would like you to do is actually step over that and go into the area where you say, well, why not? Why can I not have this? Okay. And this is a very small session to be doing a lot of this. But I hope that if you take, one thing away, two things away from this session is, one is always try and create a win-win solution. So go into it with the intention of creating a win-win solution. And the other is definitely try and ask for more, always ask for more, and always ask for what you're worth. There is always space for that. Okay, so just a brief introduction to me. My name is Mrids. I'm a business growth and negotiation strategist. So I work with startups, small businesses, and large businesses to help them grow and to grow rapidly. I'm a startup founder, so I have experience in that area, and I'm really passionate and I think good at spotting where people are not seeing the opportunities for growth and helping them to grow there. I'm also a money mindset coach. So this is kind of an interesting thing, I think, for women is what is money mindset and where does that come from? And when I started to study the reasons why women were not negotiating better for themselves or asking better for themselves, I realized that there was a whole background in the way that women see money, well, generally society in general, the way that we see money, and then women in general and the way we see money as a derivative of that, based on, our past history, our parents, what we've been told, what our religion might have told us about money, what we thought that very wealthy people are like, etc. So my goal is to remove those blocks so that you actually can achieve and have the money that you want. And then money is a really good thing and helps you to achieve and help other women. And like I said in the beginning, I'm teaching the framework of the Harvard Negotiations Project in creating win-win solutions. And then I founded Savingswize, which is a fintech company. I'm also the founder of Women Ask for More, which is a little community to which I do this. And I have a podcast, so I turned 40 recently, and it includes interviews with amazing people who've turned 40 and have had a transformation in the way they think and see the world. And you can find that on Apple or anywhere. It's just This is 40 podcast, and then look for my name. So moving on to if you have access to the internet and if you can go really quickly and grab the worksheet, or you can do this after, but if you have the worksheet now, it'll be useful for you. It's on my website, womenaskformore.com, and you should see it. It should be the first thing you see. It's a money mindset spreadsheet, a worksheet, and if you have that, that'll help you to be able to do some of the exercises or the very quick exercise that I'm going to do, but there's more you can do on your own. It's a long worksheet that is not very difficult to do, but will ask you some of the questions that will, kind of make you think about why you're not asking or negotiating. Or as someone just asked me, how much am I worth? Well, that will come from this spreadsheet too. Okay. And as I was saying, for anyone who missed it, I have a negotiation, sales, and money mindset course called the Essential Toolkit. You can save your spot on that. I only take a few people on every year. Or if you have questions, email me at mrids@womenaskformore.com. And if you're on Facebook, I have a group for women in business. It's called Women Ask for More. Just search for it and you'll find it. If not, send me an email and I'll add you. Okay, so moving on from here. Okay, so quick game. And like I said, if you've got access to the spreadsheet, then you can do the whole thing on your own. But I'm just going to do a tiny bit with you here so you understand it. And if you have pen and paper, you can take it and do it now or do it later. So what is your money character? And I don't know if you've thought about this or if anyone's ever asked you about this or you've thought about how you work with money. Sorry, I don't know if you can see that. There you go. So it's what is your money character? And it's really how do you see and think and behave around money? So is that something that you're, what are some of the first thoughts that come to your mind when you're thinking about money? Are you thinking money's a great thing, I love having money, or like, ugh, I feel like I have to work really hard for every single cent I earn because I feel guilty if I'm being paid and I'm not earning that. What do I do? What is my money character? Why is that important too? And especially for us as women, is because that's the underlying thing that you're going to negotiate for. You might be negotiating for other things as well as, more parental leave or better working hours or better working conditions. And these are definitely things that we should be including. But the base of all of that is going to be, what is the money that I'm receiving for the job that I'm doing? And does it give me satisfaction? And that a lot of those answers will come from your money character, okay? Okay, so like I said, grab a piece of paper and a pencil, or you can download the worksheet from my site, womenaskformore.com. It's the first worksheet on money mindset. Okay, now, sorry, I'm just going to go back up. So for anyone who didn't see that, either you can get the worksheet right on my site on womenaskformore.com, but for now, just grab a piece of paper and write down any thoughts that come up about money and about negotiating, because those will be pretty powerful. And then you can go back in and do the exercises on your own, okay? And definitely send me the results, because I'd love to hear what came up for you and what you thought of. Okay, so the first question that I'm going to ask you is this you? So you want to ask your boss, let's say, for a salary increase, and you know that you might have to negotiate for either more money, more recognition, or promotion in your next review. Are you the kind of person who is a little bit terrified of knowing that you know that you want to do this, you know that you deserve this, you know that this is a big deal for you, but are you the kind of person that's a little bit terrified about how you are going to go ahead and do this? If that's you, you can either say yes in the chat so I can see you, or you can keep it to yourself. I don't but say yes in the chat so I know and I can see that. And I can see that that's a question that comes up. But this is really a question that comes up a lot is, I know I need to do this. I know I need to negotiate for myself. And I see some yeses coming in. Good job. Yeah. Well, so Nicole, I know what you're saying for an entrepreneur, and for an entrepreneur, it's more around pricing. So pricing is a big issue. Funding is a big issue. Asking for your customers or your suppliers and people to pay you on time is a big issue. But yeah, there'll be versions of this. So I see a lot of yeses coming in, and I want you to think, okay, so what is it that is terrifying me? What is it that's terrifying me? I put that in the chat. Like, is that what's terrifying you? The technique? Is what's terrifying you the legitimacy? Like, you don't know that you are able to do this, or should you do this? Would you be seen as greedy? What comes up for you as something that's terrifying you? So if you have the worksheet, you can put it in there. Someone says you like to make a list of accomplishments. That's true. Yeah, definitely. It is a stressful situation, and that's one of the helpful tools to being able to negotiate your salary. Okay, I'm going to move on. I wish I had enough time to do each of these things in great detail. Like, obviously, I have a lot on here that I want to share with you guys. So, yeah, rejection. Okay, I'm going to just say that one thing very quickly, and that's really great that you brought that up, Marianne. Rejection is one of the big reasons that women don't actually stand up and negotiate for themselves. It's not even negotiate, it's just one of the reasons they just don't even ask for more, is because of rejection. Because we women, because of the fact that we're highly empathetic, which is also why we're good at negotiating, we also have an astounding fear of rejection. And data has shown that when you put a man and a woman in the same room and the man gets rejected, he thinks that the boss was an idiot and that's why he was rejected, or the boss didn't do a great job, or the boss was in a bad mood. But the woman immediately assumes that it was something that she did wrong. So she didn't show up the right way and therefore was rejected. She tends to take it more personally, no fault of hers, and will not approach someone or not ask for more again, because she takes that rejection quite personally. So you're definitely 100% right with the rejection part. Okay, talking a little bit about money mindset. So your money mindset will determine everything. If you're an entrepreneur, like we were saying, it demonstrates how you price your products. It demonstrates how you negotiate. So it affects this and it determines this. It determines how much money you will make and how much money you will receive in your life, right? So it's hard because this affects women's equality of wages. Because when you don't negotiate, and I have a slide that I'm going to come up to in a second, but when you don't negotiate, you leave dollars on the table. And when you fail to negotiate and like raise your salary or ask for that salary raise at this time, your next salary is going to be negotiations based on your salary at that time, right? So when you're in that kind of position, you're actually negotiating from a lower base than you should have been if you'd negotiated. And at the same time, assuming that there's someone on the other hand who has negotiated everything from day one, they are always going to be ahead of the curve, right? They will always be ahead of you because even though you started the same place, they negotiated and you didn't. So every percentage is a percentage of the last salary. So that's something that's super important to think of, is when you fail to negotiate, you actually do yourself a long-term disservice in being able to catch up on a financial and economic situation. And that just means that women then are on the back step. Like there's a number of other reasons that we don't get paid equally, etc. But the failure to actually negotiate is one of the reasons why we're not going to catch up if we don't negotiate. It also determines how wealthy you will be, because you might say, I want to be a wealthy person, but if your money mindset is not helping you get there, you will actually either sabotage your wealth or you'll find a way to not earn the wealth that you deserve. Okay. Moving on to the next slide. Again, send me questions if you have questions. I can't actually, I would love to spend a lot of time on each slide, but I think I'm going to be time up soon. So the secret to increasing your revenue flow, your profit, and your wealth in your career is really actually threefold. It's mastering your money mindset. So understanding what is happening in your mind when you're asking for more. It's pricing your services or asking for the salary for the salary or the pay that you deserve. And it's then negotiating for what you deserve. So it's really a secret of it's a secret triumvirate of three things that all come together to help you to do it. Oh yeah, I see your question. And Julia, I see your question. And I'm going to go a little bit into it, but I don't have, go and download the first, if you missed the beginning part, download the worksheet on money mindset on my website. It should be the first thing you see. And it's going to be helpful for you to be able to process some of the information, and then, send me an email too, and I'll be happy to direct you to more resources. Okay, so moving to the next one. I know it might be a little bit speedy, but so these are the things that kind of eventually wind up becoming a pyramid. The way you price your products, the way you ask for the raise you want, the way you ask for the money you deserve, they all start to affect like a pyramid of things. So they affect your prices, your salary, your business, and then eventually your future, your family, and your retirement. So as you can see, it actually has a long tail. Like failing to negotiate is not a one-term situation. It's actually a long-term, it's like a long-term impact on you. and on your future and your family's future, and how much you have left eventually, for your retirement. We talked about this in the beginning a bit. Like, did you know that your money mindset determines how much you will earn and save in your life? That when you walk away without negotiating or pricing right, you are leaving money on the table. And then do you wish it was easier to price your services, ask for more money, a raise, or to negotiate better? If any of those are a yes for you, feel free to leave me a yes in the comments. So the way that we're going to learn to negotiate like really quickly in here is to create, like I said, win-win solutions. And for those who missed the beginning part of this, a win-win solution really is like what it sounds like. It's where everyone at the negotiating table benefits equally from the solution that's offered. So it's no longer that old school kind of negotiating where you feel like you're going to go and then grab someone's something that someone else has and make sure that you're the winner. There isn't an actual winner in a win-win style of negotiating because you set the situation up such that everybody benefits. Remembering again that not everybody wants to benefit from the exact same thing. What $1 might mean to you might not mean the same thing to the other person. So very simply, like I'll give you an example. If you're negotiating, let's say, your next salary raise, right? To you, the amount of money that you earn is important because you feel like you've contributed to it and you absolutely deserve it. And your boss, on the other hand, it's not a personal decision for them. They would love to give that money to you, I'm assuming. However, they also have needs that they feel they would like to meet. And the only way that you're going to understand what it is that you can offer in this negotiation is by bringing to understand what is in the mind of the other person and being strategic to understand what are their needs that they're not vocalizing. So maybe they would like you to take on X other project that they haven't really mentioned and be able to make them look good in a certain way, or be able to develop a certain other part of the team, or be able to contribute in a certain other area, or maybe mentor some of the juniors and take that off your boss's plate. There might be other things that you can bring to the table that will extend the size of your pie. And that's one of the negotiation strategies that I'm going to talk about in a second. So here, so creating a win-win solution is the best outcome for everyone. And like I was saying, I teach the strategy and tips from the Harvard Negotiations Project, but these projects are built for highly complex negotiations, and they generally work for, missile disarmament. But there's no way that they don't work for, and we've seen it work obviously for individual one-to-one negotiation situations, because if something works in a high conflict situation and it de-escalates the conflict and it allows people to actually see and understand each other's needs between governments, it's definitely possible between people. And so this is the Women Ask for More project, is really taking the big lessons that we've been teaching companies to do, or individuals at companies when they're negotiating, and bringing it down to an individual level so we can all learn to negotiate. It's not something people actually taught to do. So the negotiating method that we use is sort of like haphazard. And it isn't really a structured method. We're not approaching something with a thought process. We're kind of just going into the room and saying, okay, we're listing out the things that we've done, the things that we want to do, and then the salary, but we haven't thought through the process of what is the actual give and take. What are we actually giving for what we're receiving, and what are we thinking we're going to be doing here? So this is something that's super important to do well before you actually start. So that's something I think people don't realize is your negotiate. Oh my God, you're just gonna have to excuse that. Your negotiation begins well before you even walk into the room, right? So often this is a mistake that I see people doing, is they assume that they're negotiating for salary. And so they're busy preparing a whole strategy on their own. So they're writing out, this is what all I've done this year. I've helped do this, this, and this, and therefore I think I deserve this. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the other person does not, the other person has no idea that you're actually negotiating for something or what it is that you are negotiating for. So this comes up a lot with promotions, when people feel very disappointed that they didn't get the promotion because they've said, okay, well, I've been working all these hours, I've taken on all this additional responsibility, but I haven't gotten this promotion and I'm really disappointed. From the other side, viewed from the other side, the boss or whoever it was on the other side thought you love your job. Like, yes, you've been staying late, but maybe you're very committed. The big mistake is that you didn't actually vocalize what it is that the other person wants from you in exchange for this, and you didn't vocalize your own demands. So before you go into negotiate in the actual negotiation room, it's really important to have a conversation with the person you're negotiating with and study them and study their needs before you go in. And also letting them know, in about 6 months, I'm actually interested in a promotion. So what is it that I need to do today to be able to get there? We leave this kind of very, it's kind of awkward, and we kind of assume that they know what I'm thinking and I know what they're thinking. And that leads to a whole misunderstanding when you walk in the room and they didn't know you were ready for this promotion. When they know that you're interested in this promotion and that you're very clearly saying, well, what do I need to do to be able to get there? And Sarah, I know what you're saying, and you don't have to say it exactly, the way that I'm saying it, but I feel like maybe you could find another way to have a lunch with your boss and say, I'm interested in growth. I'm interested in growing. I really love this position, but I'm interested in growing in the company. What is it that I would need to do to be able to get there? And you will hear from them what they think are your options and whether you can grow in the company and what do you need to do to be able to get the position that you want to. You could also mention at the time that you are interested in a pay raise and you are willing to put in, bring more to the table to be able to get this pay raise. So what is it that they think in their minds you need to have achieved to get there? Now, when you have this conversation 5, 6, even 3 months out, you can structure your strategy up to the day that you're going in for negotiation, right? So if you have never had this conversation, you're just going in with what you think they value, and they're waiting for you to come up and explain why you think you need a salary, why you think you need a bump in negotiation or a promotion. This doesn't serve anyone. This is a recipe for a disaster. However, when you've had that conversation and you are serving them what they've asked, like they've specifically said, you want this promotion, great. Well, I'm expecting kind of this, and this to be the kind of things that the person in that promotion gets, or does. So if you can kind of do that, that would work great for me. It's really just asking people, and in however you want to do it, in whatever language kind of suits you, but make sure you have that conversation and kind of clear it with them before. Okay, like I said before, and I'm just gonna go quickly on to this point, is study the other person, right? And connect with them on a personal level. Very often we have this kind of, I don't know, if you're not friends with your boss, you have a polite, cordial relationship with them, but you don't really know what it is that they're hoping for from the person in your position until you get to the moment of like doing your annual review. When you have a connection with them, when you sit down and you understand this is a human being just like me, they have worries about who they've hired into this position. And they have worries about, how they're going to fulfill it. Because at the end of the day, you're part of their tree. If you're not performing to what they have in mind, they're going to look bad. The projects or whatever are going to be delayed. Your whole department falls behind. If you can have a connection with them as a human being and say, look, we all want the same thing. We're all going in the same direction. How can I support you? How can I support the team? By the way, I'm also really interested in that promotion, and I really would like a salary raise. So what are the things that I can do for you? Like, what are your big concerns? What is it that I can do for you? When you understand that and you see where their priorities lie, and their priorities may not match yours, you're in a good position to be able to tailor your negotiation to meet that, okay? Yeah, this one is for me like the most interesting point, and it seems kind of intuitive, but when you start doing it, you'll realize I'm seeing like a couple of messages from people who are saying that their companies actually don't actually work. Their companies are still building career growth plans. Well, in that case, I mean, this is a hard situation because they don't actually have an outcome, but it's actually not a disastrous situation because it's a situation in which you can take the initiative to benchmark yourself against other positions that are more or less the same and build your own job description and go in there and offer them an equivalent of what you would be paid in another job and say, I really want to stay here. So I really want to understand what is it that you need from me to be able to make this financially worthwhile for me as well as worthwhile for you. So in those situations, don't hang out behind and kind of wait for someone else to take that leadership role or that lead in the negotiation. It's on you. You could totally do this. And actually, like, that might make them respect you more too, because they realize that you're totally willing to negotiate where you stand and your salary, and you have a very good idea of what you should be paid in the market. Okay, so bringing more to the table and not less is kind of like, okay, let me explain this. So most people assume that when we're negotiating, it's a one-track road. I'm trading my time for salary. I'm trading one thing for the next, right? And it's only one commodity that's getting negotiated, maybe two between the two. What I think is interesting is to realize that actually when you increase the size of the pie, when you bring more to the table that you're actually negotiating and not less, you're actually creating a situation where you can start to trade off items that are a low priority for you, and they can start to trade off items that are low priority for you, and they can stick to the ones that are high priority. Now, how do you get here? You get here by making a clear understanding of what are the priority things for you. So are you, for example, interested in getting a higher salary at all costs, as in you're willing to work all hours, you're willing to work, take calls on weekends? Are you willing to do everything to achieve that salary? Have this honest conversation. Or would you actually like certain other things? Would you like some days to work from home? Would you like better parental leave options? Would you like to travel less if you're a consultant? Would you like any of these other things? So put all those things down on a priority list and then start to grade them into, these are my absolute high priorities. So when I go in to negotiate, I definitely want to have these things, but I also want to have these things as a medium, and these are kind of like my low priority. So if I don't get them, I don't get them. And when you start negotiating, start building the size of the pie, even for them. So you can also look at what else would they like from you besides you taking on this project. Could you show leadership in another area? Can you maybe agree to mentor certain other people in the team? Could you maybe do something else for them that you haven't thought of so far in exchange for getting something else that you want? So what that would eventually look like is your goal is to be more satisfied in the position that you're in and feel that this is actually creating a position for you that you're happy and you're growing in and you're not frustrated in. So that's something that's really key. And when you increase the size of the pie, you bring in different options. So you would then trade off and say, well, I'm willing to also do this in exchange for this. So that's, for example, you could say, I'm willing to mentor the junior leaders that come in and provide hours to the training team, which you never had thought of doing before, in exchange for working 2 days from home, or working one day out of 4, 1 day out of 5, or however you want to structure that, or not taking calls on Sundays. Remember that you can always negotiate, but the most important thing is to realize you're not just negotiating for the one thing in front of you. You're negotiating for, if you see each individual with a cloud behind them, you're negotiating for all of the different things that are in that cloud that if you haven't vocalized, you're going to get very frustrated. Okay, so don't make the mistake of thinking a dollar is the only thing you're negotiating for. You're negotiating for an overall well-being, and you need to understand what is it that you want in your overall well-being that you can put onto the table. Okay, moving on to next one. Okay, and the win-win solution for negotiation. So this one requires a little bit of work, but remembering that at the end of the day, we're all interested in the relationships that we work with, right? Like that we have right now. We want to build these relationships and we want to be able to keep them. We don't want to walk away from a negotiation where someone feels like they lost out or someone feels like they won, because nobody in those situations has a feeling of building a relationship. It often leads to someone feeling that they got totally ripped off. And no company in general is interested in creating that kind of situation, because it just makes people, the employees, are not happy to be there or work there. So creating a win-win situation, or directing your negotiation to create a win-win situation such that everyone at the table feels like they have won, is really, really important. And it's the one that preserves relationships, and it's the one that helps you in the long run. So the steps to this would be all of the ones we went through before. Start strategizing well in advance. Tailor your negotiation so that you understand you're negotiating for more than just what it appears that you're negotiating for. So more than just the salary. Bring other things onto the table and increase the size of the pie. So there are more benefits for both of you, that rather than just the one benefit of I'm trading my time for your dollars. So increase the size of the pie so there's more benefits for both people. Study the other person and get a sense of what their priorities are. Make sure that they are aware of where you are in your process. So make sure that they're aware of the fact that you want certain things and you have vocalized those things. Don't rely on the fact that they assume that you want a promotion because you've been putting in these extra hours. And at the end of the day, you know, even if you're working with someone who's a hard negotiator, some people just naturally feel like, especially if they haven't been through any kind of like negotiations training, they assume that it has to be a hard negotiator. So it's either this or nothing. And when you're in a situation with someone like that, you need to recognize that that's what's happening, and you need to kind of step back and don't go in and lock yourself into that kind of negotiation, because there's like that situation is very much like a win-lose situation. One person will win, the other one will lose, and the one who loses might actually feel really resentful towards the one who won. So try and find a negotiation solution where you can kind of encourage the other person to increase the size of the pie and build something good for both of you. That might require for you to build in options. You might have to do more work there, but in the long run, that's something that will actually work for you. And then to sum up the beginning part, what we looked at was your money mindset, and where your money mindset is guiding you vis-a-vis your wealth, how you approach money, how do you talk about money, how much money do you actually think you want. Someone in here earlier said that they feel bad to ask for money because they don't feel like they deserve it. And so that's kind of a tricky situation too. But if those are all money blocks, right? Those are all blocks to where you would like to grow. So you might be doing all the work, but your money mindset is saying, no, it's okay, never mind. Or the old money mindset where you feel like you have to earn every dollar by physically putting in those hours, instead of thinking I could work smart and still be able to grow my business. So it's a couple of things for you to think of. Definitely access, I don't think I have anything else on here, but definitely try and go and get to the worksheets. Yeah, definitely try and get to the worksheet and try and work a little bit on understanding, is your money mindset one of the things that's blocking you? And at the end of the day, you know, if there's one thing that you really take away from this, it's ask for more, and definitely ask for what you're worth. I'm going to have, I think I'm way over time, so I apologize to anyone who had to go. But I'm just going to look at, so Teresa, you had a question. You said, any tip when you are at the top salary for your position and you do not see another path? Yeah, that's a really great question. So at this point in time, I think it really depends on what your thoughts are for where you want to go in your career, right? So it could be that you negotiate another leadership position within the company where you can maybe look at stock options. And I don't know if that's something you already included in your position. It could be that you start branching out to look at similar companies and get into an advisory position. So with startups, etc., where you can look at positions of being as a founder or an advisor to the startups, or start investing in companies if you feel like you have an expertise in your area. That could be something. But yeah, I have a couple of other ideas, but send me an email and maybe we can chat about it. Cindy, when do you recommend starting the conversation? I always think of it based on a timeline. So it's about a year since my last promotion. It feels fair to me bring up another promotion. I feel bringing up too early may minimize my chances of getting it. So Cindy, I don't want to use you as an example, but what I am going to say is, there you go. You see, there's certainly a little bit of fear in there towards expressing what we want and asking for more, right? And we all do this. I'm 100% with asking everyone to be strategic in what they're doing. So definitely be strategic as to when you ask and how you ask. So clearly, if your boss is having a bad day, that's maybe not the day to do it. But I would definitely say to kind of make your intentions clear, because it's just like dating. Like, you don't want to be stuck to someone who has no intention of going the long road with you, right? So maybe your boss is in a position where they're not thinking about you the whole day. They're thinking about everything else. You're thinking about your job and the fact that you want this promotion. They're thinking about everything else. When you bring their attention to what it is that you want and you have a very honest conversation, you understand and you open space for them to let you know, A, do they think there's an opportunity in the company that they could include you in? Is there a parallel opportunity somewhere else that they think that they could put you into? Is there an opportunity for them to not give you the promotion, but maybe negotiate something else that you would want? Something like that. But if you imagine, if you wait another year before you bring up that conversation, that's a year lost, right? That's a whole year that you could have had a conversation and known that you were maybe not going to grow in this company, and you should have started looking for opportunities. So I would definitely say be very strategic in trying to understand what opportunities are available. All right, guys, I think I have to wrap up now. I could keep doing this forever. But like I said, the key takeaways are: ask for more, ask for what you're worth, and try and negotiate for a win-win solution.